Hello and welcome to the Freedym Show. My name is Ryan Lee, the founder of Freedym.com, the #1 resource for heart-centered lifestyle entrepreneurs. And right now, at this very moment, you're listening to the Freedym Show. This is the daily show featuring 10 minutes of the best fluff-free advice showing you how to create your own lifestyle business. Because it's not just about the money, it's about the freedom. If you want a special gift, I've got all of my best business building strategies all condensed down to just 3 little pages. Head on over to freedym.com, Freedym.com, or text the word freedom, Freedym, to the number 33444 today. Oh, we've got a good one. We've got my man Casey Zeman. I've known Casey for years. He is one of the world's leading experts on webinars. He's so good, he actually created an entire software called Easy Webinar, and it's something that we're actually going to be using with the Freedym and the Freedym business over the next 2 months as we implement it. If you want to, Casey's actually put together a pretty cool free mini course, oddly enough, called webinarminicourse.com. So just go to webinarminicourse.com and check out Casey's course on webinars. Casey, today we're talking about list building, webinars, and all that good stuff, and we got about 9 more minutes left. You ready to bring it?
I am ready to bring it. I mean, you're not giving me a lot of time, but I'm here to do this. Let's do this. We're now down to 7 minutes. All right. Before we started recording, you were telling me that you're excited because you're doing some really cool things with list building and sending them to evergreen webinars. Let's jump in. Let's start with list building. Tell me the 1 or 2 big things you're doing right now to build your list. Yeah, so I felt it was just, let's go right into that because that's the meat of what I've been doing in my business. So list building, I've been doing a lot with live stream. I love live stream, so I'm doing Periscope a lot. People have probably been hearing about Periscope or on Periscope. It's a live stream app. I've been on there all the time. I generate about... Right now, I do about 30 to 40 leads a day from Periscope, from the replays of Periscope as well, and leading them into 2 different funnels. One is the webinar mini course that I mentioned, but also I have an automated webinar that I send them into from there, and also Facebook ads as well. I do a lot with Facebook ads, and so those are my 2 main lead generators that I can tell, and then everybody else sort of just funnels into it, word of mouth and things like that. But where I send them, and before we even go to that, first let's just take one step back for a second. Periscope, now obviously it's a live streaming app. Are you promoting it ahead of time, or you just literally go on and people just find you? So I just go on. I have followers that I'm building up. I go on, and because I'm building up followers, they tend to just find me. Because here's the cool thing about it: it has push button notification to your phone. So everybody knows when you're starting one up because bing, they get this like this whistle that tells them that it's starting. Then you're on there. Now, what I tend to do is offer extreme, I give good quality content on my Periscope, and then I say, if you guys want to learn more about me or join, learn more about webinars, go to Webinar Mini Course. I always have a call to action at the very end.
Right.
And so I've created kind of a structure of how to do it. Give extreme value, have them follow me, share with their friends, but then by the end, call to action to get them into the community, whether they're coming into my Webinar Mini Course or my automated webinar. Or I send them into my Facebook group because I've started a free mastermind Facebook group as well where people are funneling in that way, and that's called tribeminded.com. So I have people those are my 3 call to actions depending on whatever content I'm sharing, and then I drive them into one of my 3 funnels. So that's a big list building strategy. It's just one of my favorite things. Obviously, I love events. I love live streaming. I love all types of stuff like that. That's why we built Easy Webinar, because that's what it does. But the other thing that Easy Webinar does that you had asked was it does evergreen and automated webinars, which essentially are pre-created webinar funnels that have this engagement experience but are pre-recorded. So what I tend to do is when I've been testing this, and I do a lot of Facebook testing, I test Facebook ads to my webinar mini course and Facebook ads to my automated webinar, which is at caseyzeman.com/webinar. When I have
plug number 1.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. When I said the only reason I differentiated that so you can know the difference of the URLs, but either one you can go to. It doesn't matter. But here's the thing: the webinar mini course converts at about 8%. The webinar, the automated webinar, converts anywhere, and we've been testing this out. It started around 11%. It's grown to about 13 to 14%.
So what's the price point on the product you're selling for that?
It's the same price point. It's Easy Webinar, essentially. So it's $397 a year or $477 a year are the two price points that we're selling on those. And so what my experience is an automated webinar or any webinar keeps them, it gives them that overarching experience of, say, 1 hour where they're not only getting extreme value, but by the end they get to know, like, and trust you. And normally they're buying a higher price point product. When they come into my webinar mini course, I have 4 videos, actually maybe four or five videos, 4 videos, that's right. 4 videos spanned over a week. And because it's over a week, I see that the engagement drops off. Whereas the automated webinar, it's boom, they're in the system, they're watching that webinar probably the next day, right? They're registered for it, they're going to watch it probably the following day and then take action. So we have both of those running. And here's something interesting, because I bet we're getting to the end mark here, but
no, we still have more time.
Okay, cool. Here's something interesting that I do. If they don't come through the webinar mini course,
just kidding.
No, man. Here's the best advice I could possibly give. Oh, time's up. Yeah. So here's the best advice I could possibly give. If they don't come through the webinar mini course, I still have those people filter into the automated webinar and vice versa. So the people that don't buy consume both of these bits of content. Does this make sense? Yeah. So I funnel people back into these 2 other things. So if they come in the webinar mini course and they don't buy, I send them into the automated webinar. If they come into the automated webinar, they don't buy, I send them into the webinar mini course, because what I've noticed, and this is something that I've heard from Michael Hyatt and a few other people, that the more content your people consume, the more likely they are to buy. I mean, this is something that I've noticed in my business. Ryan, you may have experienced that in your business as well.
Absolutely.
The more they consume, the more they're going to be. They're just going to be closer to getting to that buying threshold, because they get to know you more. So that's why I have them consume both bits of content if they don't buy, so that they, as the very least, something is served to them if they don't watch them all. You know what I mean? I try to get them in front of it. And then if they don't do anything on either of those 2, they go drop into a different sort of funnel at that point. But
no, I love it. Well, let's talk. I know we had Devin Duncan on a few weeks ago on the Freedym Show, and he talked about he uses your software for automated evergreen webinars. Let's just talk webinars in general, or even evergreen. Give me, because you've run thousands of them, been behind the scenes of probably tens of thousands of webinars. Give us your 3 best strategies, advice, whether it's here's here's the pricing you should be looking at, here's the length of the webinar. Just give me best of the best of the best of the best advice, Casey.
For like any webinar at all.
Anything.
Okay.
Well, you know what? If it's going to be much different, give me the top 2 or 3 for a regular webinar and the top 2 or 3 for evergreen. Okay,
because I do have like a way that I would always tell people to set up their evergreen, but they're going to be primarily the same thing. A webinar is there for you to not only share your story, but your problem solving for your audience, right? Mm-hmm. So one of the main things I guess I would definitely say is in a webinar, keep engagement up, right? That's one of the things I would say. And in an automated webinar, you can do that. So one of the first things I would say is create an expectation at the beginning of the webinar what people are going to be learning, so that by the end, you're giving them what you've already promised them, right? Mm-hmm. And in an automated webinar, by setting up expectation in the beginning, you can oftentimes say, listen, we're going to go through a Q&A at the end. I won't be able to necessarily take all of your questions because of the time, but if you ask a question, either myself or maybe someone on my team will follow up with you, if not in the webinar, after the webinar. So that's one of the things that I always say, especially at the beginning of an automated webinar, because clearly an automated webinar is pre-recorded. Right. I can't be there answering all their questions. I have like probably 20 canned questions that will maybe answer a lot of their objections, mm-hmm. But here's the thing: I don't. By the end of it, if they have more questions, at the very least, my team will follow up with them either on the webinar, because as soon as someone asks a question on an automated webinar, it goes right into my team's email so they can respond in real time, or they'll do it afterwards. So anyway, few other things in a webinar. Always have good bonuses. Bonuses are there to not necessarily just add. They're there to add more value, but don't just throw a bunch of bonuses in that don't make any sense. I always say that bonuses are there to kind of fill the gaps of whatever the product is. So like if I sell a software, my bonuses are training. So I'm selling a software on how to make sales, but I might need to do some training on first how to get traffic, right? So with Easy Webinar, we have like some bonuses where I talk about, how to use Facebook or how to use Twitter, how to use YouTube, to get traffic into those webinars, right?
Right.
So that's one thing that I tend to do. Scarcity is another element that's really good in a webinar, and a lot of people wonder, how do you create scarcity in an automated webinar? Scarcity in the sense that on my webinars, I normally offer a fast action bonus. So there's one bonus that they can get on the webinar when they take action on the webinar, right? And so normally, sometimes I have like a 10-minute countdown timer when I get to the pitch. And over that time, with that pitch happening, I say, okay, here, I'm going to answer your questions, and just know that this fast action bonus is no longer going to be available after this period of time. And what I do in my automated webinars is I still have that true, because in Easy Webinar, I can deliver a button that shows up for that countdown that's a specific link to that fast action. So if they buy through that link, I know that they can get the fast action. But then it goes away after 10 minutes, and if they didn't save that button, then they're not going to get that fast action. So that's how I can create scarcity inside the automated webinar. The cool thing about our automated webinars is that they play in real time. So it gives it, like, if people will have to show up to make sure they get there, because if it plays in real time and you miss first 10 minutes, it's like you're missing part of the show. So you want to get there. So that it has like a higher value proposition, I think, than just like a replay. And a lot of people ask about that. So it's a much cooler experience. I know Devin is doing it. Amy Porterfield is using our system, and she just told me yesterday she's doing some really great numbers with it. So it's really cool stuff. Did that answer your question, or did I?
That did answer my question, and congratulations, because you have set the record for the longest Freedom Show interview of all time.
I'm so long-winded.
We are now at about 12, 13 minutes. But you know what? It really was great, Casey, because I didn't want to cut you off. I wanted to keep going because this stuff is gold. But what I will do is I'm going to hold you to it. We're definitely going to have you back on for part 2, because there's some more stuff I want to dig into. But for those of you who are on the edge of their seats, you can learn more about Casey and automated webinars or webinars in general. Go to webinarminicourse.com. And this is Ryan Lee signing off. The world's longest Freedom Show interview, coming in at a robust 13 minutes. Have no fear, my friend. We will be back tomorrow. Casey, do we ever stop?
We never stop.
Look at you. You are so good. Bam! Signing off. Boom! Have an amazing day. See you tomorrow. Take care, and bye-bye.